यार बात होती।
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. You're listening to Radio Seerah 1575 AM. Also streaming live on www.radioseerah.com. You can download our free apps which are available from Apple or Android store to listen with. Yes, respected listeners, let us inshallah ta'ala continue with the lessons from the Quran and a brief tafsir of the Jews 29th. And today's surah, inshallah ta'ala, which will be starting, is Surah Al Ma'arij, which is known as the staircase. Surah Al Ma'arij, which is known as the staircase, and this is the 70th surah of the Quran. 70th surah of the Quran. And let us look at the link between Surah Ma'arij and Surah Haqqa. We've already done the tafsir of Surah Haqqa previously. After Surah Haqqa warned the people who rejected the belief that Allah is the only source of blessing, it was necessary for people to take heed and to believe in the oneness of Allah and in the prophethood of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. However, they adopted obstinate stance, and instead of asking Allah's mercy and forgiveness, they insolently asked for Allah's punishment to be afflicted to them. They failed to notice that the advent of punishment is imminent and inevitable, meaning it cannot be missed. The summary of the Surah Ma'arij, contains reproach, warning of punishment in the Akhirah, glad tidings in the Akhirah. So this is what the surah is going to be talking about. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful. سأل سائل بعذاب واقع. And an inquirer asked sarcastically about an imminent punishment. للكافرين ليس له دافع. That will afflict the disbelievers, which cannot be averted, meaning which cannot be turned away, removed, or be missed. Min Allahi dhil ma'arij, and it is from Allah, the controller of the staircase. Let us look at what staircase means. The skies, which which the angels constantly ascend as they convey people's actions and instructions to and from Allah. تعرج الملائكة والروح إليه في يوم كان مقداره 50,000 سنة. The angels and the souls of the dead ascend to him. This punishment that the people inquire about will take place on the day of Qiyamah, the duration of which shall be equal to 50,000 years of this world. 50,000 years of this world, subhanallah. So just imagine how long it will be. I will mention in regards to this shortly after we have recited some of the verses, inshallah, what it means by this for the Muslims, inshallah. فَاصْبِرْ صَبْرًا جَمِيلًا. So exercise patience in a most beautiful manner, without complaining about the attitude of the disbelievers and without asking for them to be punished, because their punishment is imminent, meaning it will come either in this world or in the Akhirah. إِنَّهُمْ يَرَوْنَهُ بَعِيدًا. Verily they see it, Qiyamah, as being far off, because they do not want to believe in it, meaning they don't want to care about that. They just think, oh, that's it, this world itself is it, everything, and that's it. وَنَرَاهُ قَرِيبًا. But we see it being nearby, because its occurrence is certain. يَوْمَ تَكُونُ السَّمَاءُ كَالْمُهْلِ. So this few verses are talking about what's going to happen before the day of Qiyamah comes, to the world, to the dunya. The day of Qiyamah will be the day when the sky will become black like the dirty residue of oil. وَتَكُونُ الْجِبَالُ كَالْعِهْنِ. And the mountains, because of the variety of colors, will become like colored wool tossed about the air, just as flakes of wool are tossed through the air. وَلَا يَسْأَلُ حَمِيمٌ حَمِيمًا. On the day of Qiyamah, no friend will ask about the welfare of another friend, because everyone will be worried about themselves. So no one will be asking each other, how are you, how's everything, how are we living in this world. If someone is in need, difficulty, we'll ask that person. On the day of Qiyamah, everyone will be doing nafsi, nafsi, nafsi. Everyone will be thinking about themselves, what's going to happen to me, what's going to be happening to me. Each and every prophet is mentioned, that prophets to normal human beings, everyone will be standing there in rows and rows. The means the good believers in one side, the disbelievers on another side. And it is mentioned that they will not be able to glance at Allah Rabbul Izzah. There'll be no conversation, nothing. Everyone will be looking down. They will not dare to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala till Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands. And that day is khamseen al-fasana, like we previously read, that 50,000 years. But according to one narration, the Prophet said that it will be very, very short. It will be very lighter for the believers. It will be like Asr to Maghrib, according to one narration. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. But it will be a very short period. And for some, it will be very, very, very long. Because khamseen al-fasana is a long, lengthy time. وَلَا يَسْأَلُ حَمِيمٌ حَمِيمًا. On the day of Qiyamah, no friend will ask about the welfare of another friend, because they'll be worried about themselves. يُبَصَّرُونَهُمْ يَوَدُّ الْمُجْرِمُ لَوْ يَفْتَدِي مِنْ عَذَابِ يَوْمِئِذٍ بِبَنِيهِ. Even though they'll be shown each other, the sinners will wish that as ransom for escaping the punishment, that day he could offer his sons, his wife, وَصَاحِبَتِهِ وَأَخِيهِ, his wife, his brother, وَفَصِيلَتِهِ الَّتِي تُؤْوِي, his tribe, family with whom he lived, وَمَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ جَمِيعًا ثُمَّ يُنْجِي, and everyone on the earth, so that he may be saved. كَلَّا, meaning this will never be done, this will never happen. Allah is saying, كَلَّا هرگزنهی, this will never be. إِنَّهَا لَظَى, no answer will be accepted, and none will be made to suffer for another. So if you have done wrong, you will have to go through all the difficulty and trouble on the day of Qiyamah for that. It will not be your brother, it will not be your sister, it will not be your siblings, it will not be your friend or relative, whatever, whoever, it will be yourself. So Allah is saying, this will never happen. Kalla, this will never be. No ransom will be accepted, and none will be made to suffer for the other. Fires shall be flaming. نَزَّاعَةً لِلشَّوَى, so hot that it will be capable of easily tearing the scalp, burning up the brains. تَدْعُو مَنْ أَدْبَرَ وَتَوَلَّى, Jahannam will call the one who turned away from Tawheed and was averse to it. وَجَمَعَ فَأَوْعَى, and who amassed wealth and tended it, meaning hoarded it with fulfilling the duties owed to Allah without fulfilling it. إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ خُلِقَ هَلُوعًا, verily man has been created anxious, meaning hasty, impatient, restless. So this is our sifa, this is our quality within ourselves. We should know as well that we would like everything straight away. So the disbelievers at that time, they used to demand this to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that why don't you bring the punishment right now? You're saying what about akhirah, Jahannam, Jannah and Jahannam, you should bring it right now in front of us. If we see it, then we will believe in it. This is how the other previous nations used to ask as well. So many other places Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that these are the sayings of the previous nations. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destroyed them for their actions. So إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ خُلِقَ هَلُوعًا, verily man has been created anxious, hasty, impatient, restless. إِذَا مَسَّهُ الشَّرُّ جَزُوعًا, when difficulty afflicts him, he panics, meaning loses his composure and becomes impatient. وَإِذَا مَسَّهُ الْخَيْرُ مَنُوعًا. And when he experiences good fortune, he becomes miserly, meaning too scared to lose what he has. So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you health, everything, and Allah has given to you, everything is right for you, everything is going well for you, then what happens? We tend to forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We tend to look for other ways, and or to get pleasure, to get happiness in our life. Whereas the real happiness is when we follow Allah and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. إِلَّا الْمُصَلِّينَ. This is the condition of all people except those mu'min who perform salah. الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَلَى صَلَاتِهِمْ دَائِمُونَ. Those who are constant, regular in salah. الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَلَى صَلَاتِهِمْ دَائِمُونَ وَالَّذِينَ فِي أَمْوَالِهِمْ حَقٌّ مَعْلُومٌ. And who have stipulated right, meaning fixed share in their wealth. لِلسَّائِلِ وَالْمَحْرُومِ. For the beggar and destitute, the poor. وَالَّذِينَ يُصَدِّقُونَ بِيَوْمِ الدِّينِ. They are those who believe in the truth of the day of reckoning. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ مِنْ عَذَابِ رَبِّهِمْ مُشْفِقُونَ. And who fear the punishment of their Rabb. إِنَّ عَذَابَ رَبِّهِمْ غَيْرُ مَأْمُونَ. Indeed, the punishment of their Rabb is not something that can be avoided. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِفُرُوجِهِمْ حَافِظُونَ. These people are those who guard private parts, chastity from adultery and fornication. إِلَّا عَلَى أَزْوَاجِهِمْ أَوْ مَا مَلَكَتْ أَيْمَانُهُمْ فَإِنَّهُمْ غَيْرُ مَلُومِينَ. Who do not engage except when it comes to their spouses to whom they are married and a slave woman whom they own. They will surely not be blamed for cohabiting with them. فَمَنِ ابْتَغَى وَرَاءَ ذَلِكَ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْعَادُونَ. Whoever seeks more than this, which is restricted, then such persons are transgressors of the Sharia indeed, cross the limits of the boundary of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِأَمَانَاتِهِمْ وَعَهْدِهِمْ رَاعُونَ. Who are not like the rest of mankind, those who give due regard to fulfilling the trust, things placed in their trust and their promises. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ بِشَهَادَاتِهِمْ قَائِمُونَ. Who stand firm by the testimony, they do not allow anything to change the testimony. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ عَلَى صَلَاتِهِمْ يُحَافِظُونَ. And who guard the time, condition and method of the salah, meaning ensure that the time and method of performing salah are correct, and they allow any salah to be unperformed, meaning they do not miss any salah. أُولَٰئِكَ فِي جَنَّاتٍ مُكْرَمُونَ. These people shall be honored in the gardens of Jannah. 8 attributes of people Jannah have been mentioned. فَمَا لِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا قِبَلَكَ مُهْطِعِينَ. Referring to the mushrikeen who used to form several groups around Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam near the Kaaba to mock him as he recited the Quran. There Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking, what is the matter with the disbelievers that they run towards you, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? فَمَا لِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا قِبْلَكَ مُهْطِعِينَ عَنِ الْيَمِينِ وَعَنِ الشِّمَالِ عِزِينَ. In groups to your right and your left to crowd you. أَيَطْمَعُ كُلُّ امْرِئٍ مِّنْهُمْ أَن يُدْخَلَ جَنَّةَ نَعِيمٍ. Does every one of them desire that he rather than the poor Muslims should enter the Jannah of bliss? Kalla, never. Kalla, never. Inna khalaqnahum mimma ya'lamun. They shall never be, because only the mu'mineen shall enter Jannah, regardless of their social standings in the world. Verily we have created them for what they know. When man knows that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created him from something as insignificant as a drop of semen, how can he question Allah's ability to resurrect him on the day of Qiyamah? فلا أقسم برب المشارق والمغارب إنا لقادرون. I swear by the Rabb of the East, everything in the East, and the West, everything in the West. Indeed, we have the power. على أن نبدل خيرا منهم وما نحن بمسبوقين. To substitute them with people better than them. We certainly have the power to do this and everything else we wish to do. فذرهم يخوضوا ويلعبوا حتى يلاقوا يومهم الذي يوعدون. So the disbelievers refuse to accept Islam after you have done your best to convince them, and leave them to indulge in their vain pursuits and to frolic, play with what they have until they meet the day they have been promised. يوم يخرجون من الأجداث سراعا كأنهم إلى نصب يوفضون, which will be the day of Qiyamah, when they will hurriedly emerge from the graves as if they are rushing towards the temple, meaning to worship the idols. خاشعة أبصارهم ترهقهم ذلة ذلك اليوم الذي كانوا يوعدون. Their gazes will be lowered with worry and embarrassment, and humiliation, disgrace will surround them. This is the day they have been promised, for which they denied. So this is Surah Al-Ma'arij, the staircase, which we have just read and recited in front of you. Inshallah ta'ala, we'll continue with more surahs as we go along. Just a brief summary, if we have to call it the brief explanation of this surah, is in regards to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioning about the questions which the disbelievers used to ask at the time of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, about when will this occurrence happen, when will the day of Qiyamah happen, when will this punishment of yours, you keep speaking about, happen. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that don't be hasty, do not think that it's not going to happen. It is going to happen, and it is near to us than you, because you don't believe it, you don't care about it, you're not bothered about it. But we know about it, and it's very, very close. So don't keep troubling our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in regards to this kind of question. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is being told that be patient with these people because the day of Qiyamah is very, very close, and the punishment for them is very, very close and severe if they do not believe in Allah and the Messenger. And as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions about the occurrence of the day of Qiyamah, what will happen to the world, what will happen to the dunya, how everything will be destroyed, and then on the day of Qiyamah, when it will be brought up, no friend will be asking each other, because in this world, friends are the one that either they believe or they do not believe. They'll help one another. They'll assist one another. In so many things. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that they will not be able to ask anything. You might have a friend today, because of him you're not going to the masjid. You're doing what he wants. And if he tells you to do something, you'll follow him. On the day of Qiyamah, friends will be enemies to one another as well. Friends will be enemies to one another. They will be not speaking to one another. They'll be swearing at each other, because the reason why, because they'll be saying to one another that how I wish I did not believe in you, and I did not follow you, whatever you were saying. Because of you, I have entered into the fire of Jahannam. And this is a conversation that will take place between friends, very, very close friends. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about such people are those that have turned away, those that don't believe in Allah. They turned away from your da'wah, they turned away from what you're trying to call them towards, and because they have amassed wealth, and they have amassed wealth because they want to go against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by not using this wealth in a proper manner or in a way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded them to do so. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that insan, human being, is created patient, impatient, restless, hasty. And then further on, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions about the good qualities of those believers that will be entering into Jannah, and the surah comes to an end. Inshallah ta'ala, we'll continue with more surah as we go along. I hope it has benefited you and of course benefited me as well, inshallah. Jazakallah for listening to Radio Seerah. We'll be bringing you more. From me, Molana Huzaifah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
دین احمد پہ یہ جس نے احسان کیا، دین احمد پہ یہ جس نے احسان کیا، آ کے دروازہ کعبے کا کھلوا دیا، آ کے دروازہ کعبے کا کھلوا دیا۔ وہ عمر ہے مراد حبیب خدا، وہ عمر ہے مراد حبیب خدا۔ اس میں ناراض ہونے کی کیا بات ہے، اس میں ناراض ہونے کی کیا بات ہے۔ میں نے ذکر صحابہ ہی تو بس کیا، میں نے ذکر صحابہ ہی تو بس کیا۔ اس میں ناراض ہونے کی کیا بات ہے، اس میں ناراض ہونے کی کیا بات ہے۔ فرق یوں حق و باطل میں کرتا رہا، فرق یوں حق و باطل میں کرتا رہا، اس کے سائے سے شیطان ڈرتا رہا، اس کے سائے سے شیطان ڈرتا رہا۔ پھر لقب اس کو فاروق اعظم ملا، پھر لقب اس کو فاروق اعظم ملا۔ اس میں ناراض ہونے کی کیا بات ہے، اس میں ناراض ہونے کی کیا بات ہے۔ میں نے ذکر صحابہ ہی تو بس کیا، میں نے ذکر صحابہ ہی تو بس کیا۔ اس میں ناراض ہونے کی کیا بات ہے، اس میں ناراض ہونے کی کیا بات ہے۔ عرش والے بھی کرتے ہیں جس کا حیا، عرش والے بھی کرتے ہیں جس کا حیا، عرش والے بھی کرتے ہیں جس کا حیا۔ ہے وہ عثمان داماد خیر الورا، ہے وہ عثمان داماد خیر الورا۔ خود علی نے بھی مانا اسے مقتدا، خود علی نے بھی مانا اسے مقتدا۔ اس میں ناراض ہونے کی کیا بات ہے، اس میں ناراض ہونے کی کیا بات ہے۔ میں نے ذکر صحابہ ہی تو بس کیا، میں نے ذکر صحابہ ہی تو بس کیا۔ اس میں پیارے صحابہ، پیارے صحابہ، پیارے صحابہ، پیارے صحابہ۔ شان والا ہے زینی میرا مرتضی، شوہر فاطمہ ہے وہ شیر خدا۔ شان والا ہے زینی میرا مرتضی، شوہر فاطمہ ہے وہ شیر خدا۔ مصطفیٰ نے جسے، مصطفیٰ نے جسے اپنا بھائی کہا، مصطفیٰ نے جسے اپنا بھائی کہا۔ اس میں ناراض ہونے کی کیا بات ہے، اس میں ناراض ہونے کی کیا بات ہے۔ میں نے ذکر صحابہ ہی تو بس کیا، میں نے ذکر صحابہ ہی تو بس کیا۔ اس میں ناراض ہونے کی کیا بات ہے، اس میں ناراض ہونے کی کیا بات ہے۔
كشوق الليالي لضوء القمر، كعشق اليبابيل قطر المطار، نجيء وفي راحتينا الضياء، نقاء وحبا لكل البشر، كشوق الليالي لضوء القمر، كعشق اليبابيل قطر المطار، نجيء وفي راحتينا الضياء، نقاء وحبا لكل البشر، نسابق نرقى وللغير نسعى، ونرسوم للكون أحلى الصور، فأنا تطيب لنا ذي الحياة، وفينا ضعيف الجناح انكسر، نسابق نرقى وللغير نسعى، ونرسوم للكون أحلى الصور، فأنا تطيب لنا ذي الحياة، وفينا ضعيف الجناح انكسر.